Chairman Wicker, thank you for this hearing, your debut hearing as chairman. It's a great topic, an important one for us, both from a national security point of view, but for our ability to remain a competitive country and for rural America to have access to technology. Mr. Gillum, I'm going to start with you first. The President has called for a national spectrum strategy for managing our resources, and he recently issued a presidential memorandum advancing that strategy. I chair the Commerce, Justice, and Science Subcommittee that has appropriations over NTIA. This development caught my attention, what the administration is saying. How can the administration's development of that national strategy speed up 5G deployment in the United States?
Thank you, Senator. And we also think it's a great opportunity to chart the course for where we're going to be in spectrum for the next 5, 10 to 15 years. The key for us is an actionable plan. There's so much spectrum out there that's been identified from low, mid, and high band spectrum, and the key is a schedule. When are we going to see that? When are innovators going to be able to invest in it? And when are we going to be able to plan to build these networks? So I think the most important thing coming out of that spectrum strategy is an actionable plan with particular focus, as we've talked about a lot this morning, on mid-band. That's the place from our U.S. perspective that we need the administration's lead on.
Do you detect that that plan is forthcoming in the works and a schedule is part of that?
We certainly hope so. That is our advocacy, and we're working closely with the Commerce Department and all interested stakeholders to do that over the summer.
Ms. Baker's testimony before the 2008 to the FCC. Her testimony mentioned the FCC's September 2018 Communications Security, Reliability, and Interoperability Council's report that highlighted the security advances associated with 5G networks. What are those improvements, and what do they mean for your member companies?
Thank you. It's a great question. We focused a lot this morning on national security, and part of it is how do we secure our networks ourselves to protect our consumers. And one of the things the wireless industry is most proud of is that every generation of wireless, the security gets stronger. Previous generations' vulnerabilities are addressed. I think the one that in 5G calls out the most to me is the end-to-end authentication that will happen in a 5G environment, so that when you're talking about Internet of Things devices, when you're on a Wi-Fi connection, that your network protections will go with you. And so, again, this is the most advanced wireless technology from security we've had, and we're excited for consumers to be able to benefit from it soon.
Mr. Berry, your testimony caught my attention, and I think we've had questions about this topic, so I'm just say this in passing. I share your demand, insistence on accurate mapping, and it's dissatisfying, it's discouraging to have us delayed in mobility phase 2 being able to proceed because of the inaccuracy of the maps. And I'm saying this more for, again, the recognition by the FCC. I want them to hear one more time from me and others about the importance of getting those maps right. I would say once again that the solution should not be that we know we have a bad map and expect the consumer, the American citizen, to fix the map. We need accurate maps from the FCC, and we will continue our efforts to encourage that, to insist on that. But in the meantime, we're delayed.
And if I must say that FCC should be congratulated for actually identifying, after looking at over 20 million data points on those maps, that they're severely inaccurate. And they should be congratulated in stopping the process and trying to decide what, in fact, should they do. I think this committee has given them a lot of guidance over the last year.
So you're taking away from my insistence, my complaints to the FCC by giving them a compliment. So I'll do the same thing. I appreciate the direction that the chairman and others are now headed on this topic, but it is critical that we get it right before we spend the money. But it's sad, but we need the money to be spent now to advance the cause. Mr. Berry, what examples of innovation from your membership can you point to in the United States in our aim to win the competitive global race on 5G?
Well, especially in rural areas, I think innovation is the mother invention for all these small carriers. For example, C Spire in Mississippi has already put together a consortium to identify what are the new innovative ways to deploy a network, get to gigabit speeds in a rural area. They're using fixed wireless. They're using different types of unlicensed spectrum. What's going to happen is precision agriculture, health, education, distance learning, all those things are going to immediately respond to new availability and new connectivity. So you can look at Shintel out here in Virginia just kicked off what they called their, well, I think they called the powerhouse choice, and getting up to gigabit speeds in rural areas that before they were, hitting, lower speeds. So we're going to see the convergence of technology, bringing every potential solution to bear, and I'm hoping that rural America will in fact be recognized as an innovator in that area.
Mr. Wessel, I've run out of time, but your testimony is very interesting to me, and I look forward to perhaps a second round or an opportunity to have a conversation with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.